Hey, it's Rich, Tennessee Homestead. How the heck are you? Yeah, snow in the last week of November. Gotta love it. Luckily it doesn't. I don't think we're gonna get it much. But there you have it. White stuff falling. I guess I spent too many years in the southern part of the state because we don't get this usually this soon down there. But then I recalled of my childhood days up in this area, and yeah, we used to get it right after Thanksgiving, and this is Thanksgiving Day. I have a good one. I catch the rest of the video here. Hey Rich, Tennessee Homestead. How the heck are you today? I've got some stuff to go over with you folks today to see what you think of this. There was a New York Times feature article that came out, and they were testing the way we're testing for the coronavirus. If they did the swab, for them to get read it, they have to keep amplifying it so that they can see the virus. And what they found out, and doctors agreed, was that once you amplify it so much to show this one or two little virus, okay, that's just normal from the environment. And no, you're not a carrier, and no, you're not infected. They found that in 90% of those tests, where all these big numbers coming from, yeah, are false positives. They were going through the New York tests, and out of 45,000 reported positive tests, only 4,000 turned out to be actually positive tests. 90% failure rate. The blood tests are a little better because it just basically shows either you have the coronavirus in your blood, or you have the antibodies where you've had it and you've gotten over it in your blood, or there's nothing in your. If they swab your nose or the back of your mouth, they may find some environmental traces. That usually means after they get done with their amplification so they can even see that you had any at all, odds are it's going to be a failure, though they're going to report it. So that got me thinking, it's time to really take a look, because I just never have bought all this nonsense. But yet, with the death toll continuing to go through the roof, I was beginning to question whether I passed out bad information. So I went back to the CDC. This time, I wasn't interested in virus. Could care less. I was looking for our death rate in America, going back to the late 60s, early 70s. I wanted to hit the last coronavirus we had come through this country, which was brought back by the soldiers returning from Vietnam, called the Hong Kong flu. That's right, we need to get these Asians to quit eating bats and rats and all this, and we could probably get rid of this virus for good. That came into this country in the late 60s, early 70s. Now, remember, if you lived back then, do you remember any lockdowns? Companies shutting down, trade stopping? You remember any of that from back then? Well, guess what? If you can't remember it happening, that's because it didn't happen. Instead, we had a bad flu, took out in excess of 200,000 people died from Hong Kong flu. Even compared to the Hong Kong flu, this current coronavirus, well, was a little worse by their numbers, okay? A little worse by their numbers. But I wanted to look at the best way to take a look at death rates for a population is it has to adjust for population growth and so forth. You get a number. And with the CDC, they put it out as per 1,000 citizens. How many people died that year? Let's go over this. In 1970, height of the Hong Kong flu, we had 9.5 people per 1,000 died in the United States. For all reasons. Heart attacks, hit by cars, ran over by a bus, plane crash, whatever. U.S. citizens that died. Jump up 10 years. 1980. That number had dropped down to 8.9 U.S. citizens per 1,000 died in the 1980s. Jump up into the 90s. Held at 8.9 U.S. citizens died. 2000 we saw a drop. 2000 through 2010 saw a drop. We went from 8.6 death rate to an 8.1 death rate by 2010. I got curious about that, so I went out and looked, and if you go back and check it, you're going to see that it correlates with the FBI's drop in violent death. Murders, beaten head with a hammer, whatever. Violent death. Our death rates dropped. That dropped it down from an 8.6 to 8.1. So then I wanted to take the last 3 years just to see. And I mean, they have all these years listed in. I mean, you can go down the chart, but pretty much bounced around the same area. That's the reason I took it by the decade. 2018, 8.7 deaths per 100,000. 2019, here we go, jumped up to 8.8. 2020, hang on. This number changes a lot. Oh no, it doesn't. It's 8 points. Virtually the same as it's been for the 2 previous years. You heard me right. Our death rate had not changed from 1919, or 2019, oh, I'm saying 2019 to 2020. And these figures were through the end of this month, end of November. So it might jump a little bit. Virtually the same. 2018, it was a tad bit lower at 8.7. Where's all these deaths at, people? Where is this 300,000 Rona deaths? Where's it at in their numbers? It's not there. And this, my friends, doesn't look at all the flus, pneumonias, all that are all contained in these numbers. But guess what? Heart attacks, hit by a bus, flus, pandemic, all these numbers are in that. And when you get to look at it that way, whoops, they forgot to hide it. How do you hide it? You can't say a heart attack is coronavirus. We're just looking at deaths. How many people got put in the ground that year? That you can't hide. You're being lied to. You're being lied to about the number of cases. You're being lied to about the fatality rates from this disease. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, it wouldn't surprise me if we had 200,000 people die of the coronavirus. Wouldn't surprise me. Because just about every year, we lose anywhere from, I think it's like 80,000 to an excess of 100,000. And during a bad flu year, 200,000 and up. That's every year. That goes on decade after decade after decade. When have you ever seen us do what we're doing now? Oh, it's more contagious. Well, apparently not. No worse than the Hong Kong flu was. They're lying to you. Question is why? That's what we have to figure out. Why are they lying to us? Now, this went to a worldwide little thing. What are they up to, folks? Is this the globalization that they've been pushing for? See how far they can push us? See how much people will allow a government to do? Here's what they've learned about people. And there's a lot of government reports out there from all over the world that show it. If they think it's a safety issue, why do you ladies go stand in front of a scanner at an organization that's going to show your naked body on a screen to some dude sitting in a little room right off the area there? And by the way, they can take pictures and download it onto a flash drive. I worked at McCarran International Airport. I saw it happen, folks. Okay? These little hotties would fly in from LA and the guys were taking pictures. Because you think you're being safe. You're willing to do things for your personal safety that you just would not even think about if some guy walked up to you at the airport and said, hey, would you do me a favor and take off your clothes so I can take a picture of you? You'd slap the dude upside the head. But yet you're willing to go through the TSA scanners. And by the way, here's a little interesting fact. The TSA, through its entire history since 2001, has never stopped a potential terrorist from going through their security systems. They've never caught a single person. Now, have they been tested by the government? Yes, they do. They get tested usually once or twice a year. Have they ever passed one of those tests? No, they have not. They failed consistently. Brief story. Fella flew from Anchorage, Alaska into Seattle, from Seattle down into, I think it was Portland area, from Portland into Las Vegas, and in Las Vegas he went back through security twice at all these airports. Anchorage, Seattle, Portland. Las Vegas. Las Vegas he only went through once. And as he was putting his overhead back up in his little AWOL bag he was carrying, he was up hunting up in Alaska. As he's putting it up there into that overhead, a loaded .45 pistol fell out on the ground. You heard me right. A loaded gun. He had been through all these TSA checkpoints. To the point that he had such a convincing story where he had the locked pistol case in his luggage, he thought his pistol was in the luggage. He had forgot it was still inside his little bag that he carried out hunting. Yeah, they didn't even file charges on it because they were more concerned that he flew all the way through all these TSA checkpoints, and they didn't find a loaded gun stuck in an outside pocket of an AWOL bag. So tell me again, ladies, why you're standing and letting these guys take naked pictures of you. Safety? Security? No. Absolutely not. I could sit, in my years working at that airport, I could sit down and talk to you for hours about the stupidity and the nightmare stories from TSA. If these people weren't working on your dime, because the airlines, when they said we're going to transfer all the cost over to the airlines, basically laughed at them and said, take them out of here because we're not going to use it. These people, most of them come from places like, I don't know, McDonald's and Walmart. How much security? And they go through a few weeks worth of training. So they already learned that over safety, you'll do stupid things. You'll listen to them. You'll obey them. And look what trial run they ran on you this round. Stay in your house. No, you can't work. Not just Americans, but the world needs to wake up. But America, we've tossed on top of that our election. I was watching some of the stuff on Arizona. They had ran a software program, which I am aware of and familiar with, trying to get the same curve in the election that they got out of Arizona. Now, they took all the registered Democrats, all the registered Republicans, all the Libertarians, all the Green Party, all the different affiliations, however you were registered. And they started running it through this program to come up with the same voting pattern that they had in Arizona. And the only way that they could duplicate that was the Green Party, the Libertarians and so forth. Theirs all ran pretty true to form. On the Democrat side, you had, and this is what got me, they had showed 100% of registered Democrats voted for Joe Biden, and 31%, something like that, voted against Trump. I've been through a few elections, and I've never seen a place on the ballot where I could vote against the guy, take votes away from him. But that's what happened in Arizona. 100% registered Democrats voted for Joe Biden, and 30% negatively Donald Trump. So there are definitely improprieties in this election program. Michigan's sitting there trying to say, oh no, we don't make any mistakes. In 2016 they had to throw out numerous precincts because the governor stepped in because they had so hosed up that election that they couldn't even figure it out. Guess what? They have a ballot and they'd keep running it through. Same ballot. Over and over again. They had no way to separate it at that point. That was 2016. They ended up throwing out several precincts ballots. Period. Throw them out. When you start seeing stuff like this pop up, okay, they like to say, well, it was a mistake. Yeah, it was a mistake for a heck of a lot of votes in 2016, but I guess they're having a lot of mistakes this year. Better wake up. Better smell the coffee. And you better think back of what this country, how it was founded. We will stand up to the world's biggest superpower and go, F you. And that was back when we had nothing but muskets. It's time we stood up again. I say we give our government a fair shot and start screaming to the top of our lungs, you will get back into the confines of the U.S. Constitution. You will take all these the unconstitutional laws off of the books, and you will do what you say you're going to do. We need to quit voting party. This voting party has gotten us nowhere, and if you happen to be one of my Democratic trolls, let me explain something to you. I'm an old man. I have seen very few elected officials, I don't care what party they're out of, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter, that actually have done what they said they were going to do, or gave it their best shot. Very few politicians like that. Most of them will tell you anything to get in office. Donald Trump did most of the things he promised to people of this country he would do. Makes him, if nothing else, a more honest individual, as politicians go. And everybody talks about his Twitter account. Donald Trump is the world's greatest troll. He could throw some nonsensical, stupid item out there and sit back and laugh as the mainstream media lands all over it and do this big war dance. Now, if Russia could hack the 2016 election, but yet somebody getting in and meddling with the 2020 election, oh, that can't happen. There's no such thing as voter fraud. No, there's just accidentally running ballots through machines numerous times going back to 2016. Things of this nature, yes. Dead people vote, yes. People that aren't registered vote. Illegal aliens vote. I saw it in Nevada. I've had friends out of California go, they encourage it in California. These are all things that need to be addressed. It's come down to the point to where now everybody's affected by these states' individual screw-ups in this election. Pennsylvania had a Supreme Court judge overrule the law that was passed for this election. Really? And they're letting that stand? Okay, he doesn't have a right to legislate from that bench. He should send it back to the legislature to be corrected. But they haven't had time to correct it. But basically, a bunch of ballots should have been thrown out in Pennsylvania because they came in after the polls closed. But they got counted. Was it by fraud? Don't know. I would like them to lose the word fraud and just get it down to irregularities until they can prove in a court of law that somebody committed fraud. Right now, I say it's just voter irregularities. But more than that, we need to stand up to this government and tell them you take this coronavirus and snort it. Donald Trump, 70-some-odd-year-old guy. He got the Rona. Slowed him down for a couple of days. I've had it. Slowed me down for 2-3 days. And we're in a high risk class. If you're in your teens and early 20s, the likelihood of this stuff killing you is like virtually not there. Of course, if you get ran over by a car, then it's going to be, you died of the coronavirus. Not that that car running over you had anything to do with your demise. If they get to pull off this kind of nonsense with this election, you've lost your republic. It's gone. Right now, it still can be done peacefully, and these politicians need to drove through their heads right now. I don't care if they got to rehold this election with paper ballots. Are we going to go quietly into the night, or are we going to stand up and say that's enough? Not here, not now, not ever. Enough. Put the little communists on notice. If you don't like this country, pack your bags and get the hell out. Because if you keep causing a problem here in this country, getting the heck out's not going to be your option anymore. Now, give you a vacation to Cuba. After all, you want to be a communist, right? Of course, communists down there don't want you. We got a little place for you out there called Gitmo. This is Red Tennessee Homestead. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Have a great week.